Hello and welcome back to the WABA channel. In today's video, we'll be talking about something different. Something that does not really involve humans. See, as human beings, we do impact the planet in many different ways and actually always have. You could say we disturb it the way nature usually flows, if you do not consider humans as being part of nature. However, it is even more so today, and that will be what we're going to talk about today. At the beginning of the 1970s, India counted more than 100,000 tigers in the whole country. However, their number actually dropped down by quite a bit, dramatically if I may say so, to reach the number of 1,411 tigers by 2008. The alarming low numbers of tigers actually forced different stakeholders to take a stand to find a way to sustain and save the species. The thing is, tigers play a very big part in the ecosystem. As being apex predator, they maintain the balance within the animal kingdom, at least in India, and do not have predators themselves apart from humans. But not only is it important for the ecosystem, tiger is also seen as a symbol, an icon, which brings quite a bit of cash. Since the beginning of the 1900s, the degradation of the tiger's numbers actually went down by quite a bit. 15 of the protected areas in India were in a very difficult position. See, poaching is very much present still to this day, and it was the main cause of the dropping numbers of the tigers. Poaching, prey depletion, or even loss of habitat, name them all, is one of the main contributors to the tigers' low numbers. See, with advanced technologies in weaponry, but also in traveling, the poachers were actually hunting at a higher pace and higher rate than ever before. Let's not even talk about communication that became more advanced starting in the 2000s, and also the use of trains, which was able to carry many people at once, and the rails were actually going through protected areas. However, the market is also quite greedy. See, Chinese medicine in quite a bit of tiger parts, not just a little bit. And if you look at this picture right now, you will see that it's quite disturbing. And tiger skins became really also popular in Tibet. Men would wear them during festivals. However, those are just two examples among many. See, like I said, the tiger is a big icon, a big symbol, and people love going there. It attracts quite a bit of people. An excellent example of growth was in the Corbett Tiger Reserve that has increased its revenue by 59% to $1 million in the past 5 years. The general public also loves tigers. About 42% of respondents actually say that they will pay even more in order to see tigers. And the financial aspects helps, rebuilding roads, building better reserves, etc. But the negative impact of the wildlife tourism is just the commodification of the people. The fact that it will, step on the local communities, the risk to damage the current habitat. So now that I've given you a little introduction, let's look at the stakeholders involved. Start with the government, then go with the bilateral and multilateral stakeholders, the civil society, and finally corporations. The government of India has actually been quite involved in helping, not only raise awareness about the loss of tigers, but also put in restrictions to poachers and so on in the market to save the species. In 1973, India's government put in place a project called Project Tiger. Strong regulations were put in place in order to keep the species alive. Not only was it to oppose poaching, but also to have regulation in human activities, those protected areas, and keep track of the tiger population altogether. And the results were quite promising. We went from 1827 tigers to about 2015 between 1972 and 1979. However, evidence show a decline in the number of tigers around the 1990s, even though the Project Tiger was still in effect. The Indian government also has a branch at the federal level that is called the Wildlife Crime Control, which is charged to help gather police and customs to work together towards the sustainability of the tigers. There's also a tiger protection force that was just roaming around and putting surveillance cameras in different protected areas. In July 2010, India also signed a joint resolution with other Southeastern Asian countries in order to preserve the tiger species. Also help to preserve the biodiversity of nature and help create a stronger ecological foundation in transboundary region. Currently, the tiger's population is on the rise with about 2,967 tigers as of 2019. Now, the multilateral and bilateral stakeholders. So one of the main issues with protected areas, which I will call PAs, is a lack of efficiency that is running actually among them, and also the lack of manpower. Studies show that about 10% of the PAs were noted as useful, while 20% lack overall management. 16 out of 39 reserve were rated as inferior, and 65% showed management issues one more time. However, remedies were put in place to rectify the issue. Both the United Nations Development Program and the Global Environmental Facility, also called GEF, contribute to the work towards the sustainability and the improvement of tigers. The Global Tiger Recovery Program, held in 13 countries that of course India is part of. $120 million grant was also, granted on an active management program, as well as help, to sustain the PAs and make them better. In the civil society stakeholders, we have the WWF India program. So they're there to basically monitor the tigers' activity, educate people on just, tigers, and also help local communities actually preserve the tigers. Cameras are set in different PAs or reserves in collaboration with different NGOs as well as the government, in order to count the number of tigers in total in the country. The WWF is doing some very good work on the field, but I just wonder how much control they are. See, often when you have NGOs or, like this one, the WWF, as civil society, sometimes they take over the entire project and don't allow much control from, the government and even local communities. There are tons of examples on this. However, in this case, it does seem like local communities are quite involved, as well as the government, like I mentioned. So good on them. So looking at the corporation's perspective on the idea was not easy, because there are just not that many involved. An interesting approach was by the School of Biotechnology at Katy University. The examples were that there was a lack of immunity towards diseases, and also the fact that there's a lot of habitat loss. So the suggestion? Cloning. They wanted to revive species that disappeared or were close to extinction. This has been done in Australia and California with, rhinos, leopards, and so on. And if one of their argument was, if there was a fear of ecological disturbance, that the animal will be engineered in such a way that it will be easy to track down and kill. The idea in itself is possible, heck, even plausible, but it's just unethical. And in anthropology, ethics is everything. As I mentioned before, that the poaching activities simply at a higher rate, not just because of demands, but also because of the restriction now put in place in the country. By cloning them, would it not even give more opportunities to poachers to hunt the tigers down, which then would lead to the loss of the value of tigers? This is a great example of human exceptionalism paradigm theory that states that humans are just the superior species, that they do not conform with environmental forces. By assuming we could just end a species just because it is disturbing the ecological, system, just puts the human being as in a god complex. But apart from that, there aren't that many corporations involved with sustaining the tiger species. Apart from ExxonMobil, they give about $9 million to the Tiger Conservation Save the Tiger Fund Conservation Grant. But now the question is about maintaining those initiatives. As the population of the world wants to be more efficient, produce more, well, this ultimately affects our world, affects their habitat, and affects our planet just altogether. Poaching is still an issue, and if the demand suddenly were to rise again, well, what are the initiatives going to do? Is poaching, even though illegal, something that we can just end altogether? As long as there is demand, people will try their best to get the tigers. But only the future will tell. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different, but this was based on a paper I actually wrote 2 years ago. I really enjoyed making it, and I love animals, so I thought it was worth talking about, tigers and conservation of tigers just all together, and look at what the stakeholders do in order to preserve this beautiful animal. Anyways, I hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye bye.